Very good evening. This is Anil Kumar Goswami, guest lecturer of PMV Polytechnic. Welcome to my all students. First of all, I would like to thank my principal as well as my high authority of PMV Polytechnic. And as you know very well that in petrochemical fourth semester there is a subject functional communication. So I'm just about to explain this topic. So unit first is on communication. Okay, so I would like to explain from now. Okay, so my dear students, I the first unit is on communication. So I would like to tell regarding this. You pay attention. The process of communication includes sending and receiving ideas and information through various communication devices such as telephone, telegraph, radio, and television. Okay. With the help of these devices, communication has become much faster and easier today. Communication scientists have launched a program called Space Bridge, through which 5 different countries in various parts of the world are joined together through satellite. Studies have proved that animals and insects are also capable of communication. Bees communicate by undertaking a special dance. Dolphins produce a special noise, and even aquatic mammals can communicate. Early man pointed on cave walls to communicate. Later on, paper was invented when writing became necessary. Old methods of communication included drum beats, fire smoke signals, ram's horn, homing pigeons, etc. Modern day communication got a new phase with the invention of Morse code by Samuel Finley Breech Morse of USA in 1837. Telephone invented by Graham Bell and radio invented by Marconi. Picture communication became possible with the invention of television. Closed circuit television has also improved the process of communication. Computer and video tape recorder are new techniques of communication. Nowadays, satellite based communication systems are playing a very crucial role in transmission of message. There are two types of communication satellite: passive communication satellites and active communication satellites. Passive communication satellites can reflect radio signals, while active communication satellites receive signals from transmitting stations on group and transmit them to receiving station on ground. Thus, modern communication techniques have brought the world closer. So, as we have studied about communication, what is communication, how many types are there of communication, what are the means of effective communication, we all have studied about it. So, I would like to tell something else relating to it, which will be useful for my students. Okay. So something really interesting about communication I would like to explain. The world has become smaller with the invention of communication devices such as telegraph, telephone, radio, and television. Communication at present is faster and easier with the help of satellites in the space not long ago. Communication scientists surprised the whole world by their wonderful program called Space Bridge. 5 different countries in various parts of the world are linked together through satellite. It was indeed one of the greatest achievements in the field of communication. Communication can be defined as a method of transmitting and receiving ideas, information, and messages. It is of vital importance up to the family as well as to the society. The application of communication techniques has changed the structure of societies and altered the course of history. Communication among animals is an interesting study. Bees, for instance, have a remarkable system of communication. When a bee discovers a source of nectar, it informs the other bees in hive through a special dance. The location of the source is communicated by the kind of dance. The direction is indicated by the angle of the axis of the dance and the amount of nectar by the vigorousness of dance. Recently, it has been observed that sea creatures talk, dolphins emit a distinct noise to seek help, and studies have been undertaken towards achieving communication with the aquatic mammals. Primitive man drew and painted on cave walls to convey messages. They used signs and symbols as man's knowledge expanded. Writing became necessary in order to transmit information. When writing on animals' tissues, man moved on a using paper for writing on following the discovery of paper making by the Chinese around the 5th century BC. In the middle of the 15th century AD, in the German printer John Gutenberg used the movable types for the first time in Europe to print the Bible. The technique widened the opportunities for learning and led to radical change in man's thinking and living. Early methods of communicating over long distances included drum beats, fire smoke signals, and instruments such as the ram's horn. During the Middle Ages, homing pigeons were used to transmit messages. With the invention of Morse code by Samuel Finlay Bridge, Morse of the USA in 1837, telegraphic communication came into existence. The American physicist Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone in 1876, which made oral communication over distances possible. The German physicist Heinrich Rudolf Hertz discovered electromagnetic waves in 1887, thus laying the technical foundation for wireless telegraphy. Marconi, the Italian inventor, was responsible for the invention of radio transmission. By 1920, several radio stations began transmitting, and in 1926, the first radio network, the National Broadcasting Company, was formed in the United States. Development in the field of picture communication has led to the invention of television. Television has expanded worldwide. Communication satellites have made it possible to transmit programs between continents. Events can be seen as they happen in most parts of the world. Closed circuit television is being used in the banks to identify checks, by the airlines to present flight information, and by the doctors to demonstrate surgical operations. The recently developed laser is capable of transmitting a large number of messages on a single beam of light. The computer and videotape recorder, which are useful to store, receive, and transmit information, represent the new technology and communication. Communication satellites are indeed a born to world of communication technology. Any Earth orbiting spacecraft that provides radio, television, and facsimile communication between points on the surface of the Earth is communication satellite. There are passive communication satellites and active communication satellites. The passive ones reflect radio signals in much the same way as a mirror reflects light. They carry no electronic equipment and no radio antennas. The American satellites called ECHO first and second, launched in 1960s, were of this kind. Active satellites receive signals from transmitting sections on the ground and transmitting the signals to receive stations on the ground. The electrical power for reception and transmission is obtained from the solar cells on the satellites. So in the beginning we are just discussing about communication, as we have studied. The students of chemical branch have studied in first semester, first year, the subject relating to English. So it is relating to that. So in the first unit we just discuss and we explain communication. Once again I would like to just tell something about communication. What is communication? Actually, I have discussed with my so many students in first year and in first semester about communication, and I have just told thoroughly about it. So once again, I would like to ask, and I would like to say to my all students to analyze it, that what is communication. What is communication? My question once again, I just repeat, what is communication? Communication, actually, it is online study going on, so students can't reply to me, so I would like to try to explain in a better way. What is communication? Actually, communication means sharing ideas, sharing information, sharing knowledge with others. And I have already told my genius students that how many types are there of communication. So I just tell that these are the types of communication. Number one, formal communication. Formal communication is a communication which is done in the business, in job, in interview. Okay. Number two is informal communication. When a communication is done within a family, within relatives, with friends, this is called informal communication. And number three is written communication. When a communication is done in written form on paper, it is written communication. Number four, oral communication. When a communication is done not without writing, it is done only in spoken form, this is oral communication. Okay. And number five is verbal communication. When we need a language, a voice, this is called verbal communication. Number six is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is a communication in which we don't need a voice, we don't need a language. This is non-verbal communication. If we talk about something other things, one is upward communication. Upward communication is a communication in which a junior just communicates with the senior. And if we talk about downward, once again I'm just telling you that one is downward communication. Downward communication, when a senior talks to the junior, when a senior communicates with the junior, this is downward communication. And when a junior just communicates with the senior, this is upward communication. I have just already told so many things about communication, and now I want to tell you what are the reasons of effective communication. Effective communication, for effective communication, the main thing is that first of all, we must have relating knowledge of relating voice in which we are just speaking, and except of it, our ears, our mouth, we should not have any physical problem in our physical organs. So in this way we can just communicate nicely. And now the question arises, what are the modern tools of communication? These are the modern tools of communication. I was already discussing, I think before some time, television, computer, mobile. These are the modern tools of communication. And except of it, I would like to speak that what are the communication barriers? I would like to speak communication barriers. Suppose loudspeakers are working around and we are not able to listen to anything, then what is this? This is only and only communication barrier. And except of it, I would like to speak that something else. Now, this is the time to test the students' intelligence, that what they have learned. And my first question to my all students is, what do you mean by the term communication? How is it important to family and society? So I was discussing already, and once again I discuss the answer. But one more thing I would like to say to you, the question can be asked in different form. Question can be asked like this: do you agree with the fact that communication is the basis need? Communication is the basic need for members of society. Give points in support of your answer. So I just tried to give answer. The term communication can be defined as a two-way process that involves sending and receiving of ideas, information and messages between sender and receiver. Communication has brought large changes to the structure of society. It has also changed the course of world history. In this way, the communication becomes the basic need for members of society. Now I discuss second question. How has the communication devices made the world small? The world has become smaller with the invention of communication devices. Do you agree? How has this happened? Answer. Telegraph, telephone, radio, mobile phones, and televisions are modern communication devices. With the invention of these devices, the process of communication has become faster. Messages can be transmitted to any part of the world within no time. In this way, communication devices made the world small. What is space bridge? Next question is, what is space bridge? Or write a note on space bridge. The answer is, one of the greatest achievements in the field of communication is a program called Space Bridge. Under this program, communication scientists have executed their plan successfully and connected five large countries together through the satellites, thereby making communication faster and easier. My next question to my all students is, what piece of information does a bee dance give to the other bees? The answer is, the phenomenon of the bee dance is quite unique to the bees to transmit information. When bee discovers a source of nectar, it undertakes a special dance. This dance informs the other bees about the source of nectar. The angle of dance indicates the direction of the source, and the vigorousness indicate the amount of nectar present. My next question to my all students is, what do you learn about the system of communication among animals and birds, etc. from the passage? The answer is, like human beings, animals are also capable of communication. They have their specific ways of communication. For example, bees take up a special dance to indicate location, direction, and amount nectar to other bees. Dolphins emit distinct noise to seek help. Mammals living in water also have been found to have achieved the understanding of communication. Now, my next question to my all students is, how did primitive man communicate? Long before the invention of modern communication devices, primitive native men communicated by drawing and painting upon the cave walls, caves, and their articles. Through these paintings and drawings, they conveyed their messages. Gradually, man's knowledge expanded, and he felt the need of spreading it and began to write on animals' tissues. Later, he invented new source of communication. My next question to my students is, communication is a modern phenomenon. Do you agree? Support your answer with evidence from this lesson. So the answer is, communication has emerged as a modern phenomenon in recent times. Through the process of communication started long time ago among the primitive native men, but their ways and methods were not very effective. They needed to convey messages by drawing and painting on cave walls. Gradually, drum beats, fire smoke, cymbals, and ram's horn and homing pigeons became the ways of communication, but all these were unreliable sources. Later on, the discovery of paper and printing machine opened great opportunities for learning and communication. Subsequently, Morse code 1837, telephone 1876, and electromagnetic waves 1887 broadened the path of new learning and opportunities. The invention of television has also brought a radical change in communication scenario. The radio transmission 1920 that came into the limelight led to the existence of radio station, and consequently National Broadcasting Company was formed in USA. The latest and the largest modern communication method is communication satellites. Now, my next question to my all students is, who invented movable type and when? Which book was first of all printed in this world? Point out its significance. The answer is, during the middle of the 15th century AD, a German scientist, John Gutenberg, invented the movable types. Bible was the first book printed by the technique. It paved way to a radical change in the world of communication. My next question is, what were the early methods of communicating over long distances? Drum beats, fire smoke, signals, and instruments like ram's horn were early methods of communication of long distances. My next question is, who invented Morse code and when? The answer is, in 1837, Morse code was invented by Samuel Finley Breese Morse of the USA. Telegraphic communication came into existence with the invention of Morse code. My next question is, when and By whom was telephone invented? The answer is in 1876 the American physicist Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. My next question is who discovered electromagnetic waves? The answer is the German physicist Heinrich Rudolf Hertz discovered electromagnetic waves in 1887. My next question is narrate the use of television as a means of communication. The answer is picture communication came into existence by the invention of television. It is used in the world widely and has brought the whole world closer. Communication satellites are placed to transmit programs across continents. My next question is how are closed circuit televisions helpful? The answer is CCTV or closed circuit televisions are placed in banks to identify checks, in airlines to present flight information, in hospitals. It is used by doctors to demonstrate surgical operation. Other than the above indicated uses, hotels, trade fairs and railways also use closed circuit television to present all necessary data and information. Okay. Um, my next question to my all students is what is communication satellite? The answer is communication satellite is an earth orbiting satellite that provides radio, television and facsimile communication between 2 points on the surface of the earth. It transmits and retransmits signals from any station on the ground. My next question is what instrument is considered as the new technology of communication? The answer is videotape recorder and computer are considered as a new technology of communication. They are used to store, retrieve and transmit information. My next question is what is the difference between passive and an active communication satellite? Or what is an active communication satellite? There are two types of communication satellites, active communication satellite and passive communication satellite. Active communication satellites are capable of receiving signals from transmitting stations on the ground and transmitting them to the receiving stations on the ground. The active communication satellites get their electrical power generated from solar cells filled on them for reception and transmission. Passive communication satellites reflect the radio signals in much the same way as a mirror reflects light. They do not carry any electronic equipment. No radio antennas are also attached with them. The American satellites ECO first and ECO second launched in 1960s were of this type. My next question is what is Morse code? The answer is Morse code is a medium of transmission by short text messages over long distances. Morse code was invented by Samuel Finlay Breeze Morse in the year 1937. In Morse code, letters of alphabets and numbers are depicted as codes by dots and dashes. Short pulses are identified as dots and long pulse as dashes. Telegraph sends message by typing out a unique code for each letter with its key. My next question is what do you understand by telegraphic communication? Or the question can be asked how is Morse code used for communication? The answer is telegraphic communication is the term applied to the short written message conveyed along wires and using electrical device. It is a long distance transfer of written message without maternal means of transportation. Precision is very important while writing a message like this at it is asked for a small message. In this way, selection of words becomes very crucial as maximum information is provided in minimum possible words. In the year 1837, Samuel Finlay Breeze Morse 1791 to 1872 invented single word technology to transmit message via telegraphic. A telegraph sends pulses of electric current to the other end of machine. There was a need to develop some system to transfer language with these pulses and gap between them. Thus well-known Morse code came into existence with its short and long signals to identify as dots, dashes. Therefore, a telegraphic communication can be defined as a telegraphic messaging sent by an electric telegraph by using Morse code. This was once a very significant and fast medium of communication in our country. Vast due to the declining revenue and available speedy transporters of communication nowadays like interpret cell phones and emails providers have recently decided to let us continue the telegraphic communication services. Okay, so my dear students, I have just talked to you a lot. This is the time of corona pandemic, and I would like to advise all my students, put on the mask, use sanitizer, keep on washing the hands, and have social distancing, and don't be in tension in this pandemic. Do the regular exercises and yoga, and start studying at your home. Enjoy this holiday. Do your homework, purchase the books, and start studying. And um, I have just discussed it today, the first unit first on communication. Revise it, and study it. You can take the help from Google or from anywhere, and take care of your health, my dear students. Okay, bye, ciao, have a nice day, thank you very much.